Well, I'm excited to hear your very intriguing tidbit, which is not a tidbit at all, but it's really a tad bit.
it's, it's a very important marketing principle. It's actually, I think, the quintessential marketing principle
Because
for
there are 5 parts to it, Quinta.
because there are five. No, well, there are 5 parts to it, but because hyper relevancy defines the internet, and I have come to realize in the last few months that everything in marketing, particularly online, is about attracting the hyper responsive customer.
I'm pretty hyper.
You are pretty hyper. So ask me, what's a hyper responsive customer and why are they
I
important?
mean, besides being kind of, all funky like I am and, jumping up and down about, how excited I am about my husband, what is a hyper responsive customer?
Um, if you think about the 80-20 rule, and the 80-20 rule says that 80% of your profits come from 20% of your customers, right?
Right.
Well, let's look at that.
Where does that come from? Who said that first?
Oh my goodness. You know what escapes me at the moment? I'll look it up and I'll put it on the blog.
Okay.
But the if you look at that top 20% of customers who are responsible for 80% of the profits, well, it turns out the 80-20 rule applies to that top 20% also. And without getting too caught up in the math, if you do the math, what you find is in most businesses that at least half of your profits are coming from a very, very small percent of the customers. And if that's true, then it's a big mistake to organize your pay-per-click research, to organize your advertising copy, to arrange your follow-up systems. It's a big mistake to do all that targeting the market as a whole, because your market really isn't a big whole. What it is, it's a whole bunch of people that give you a little bit of profit, and it's a very few number of people that put most of the food on the table.
So, like, when we go in and I buy up all the natural lemon juice, like I buy every single bottle I can get, or I buy all the rice things.
Right. We always screw up the supermarket's inventory because we are hyper responsive customers for certain things. When we like a particular brand, we will
rice
go in.
bowls.
We'll go in and we will like buy the entirety of their inventory, and then they have no idea how to manage their inventory.
Right.
Because,
we're very hyper responsive.
But okay, now here's the thing: is there are people like that, like us, in every market. There's people like us in every market, and online, it turns out, for a given search term, it's probably less than 1 out of 2,000 visitors. It's less than 1 out of 2,000 visitors. And I'll tell you how I do the math, and then I'll show you why that's so important.
Okay.
If the 80-20 rule says that half your profits are coming from 5% of your customers, that means it's really 1 out of 20 customers that you're looking to appeal to the most, right?
Okay.
Well, but online, you usually can't sell more than 1% of the visitors. Or that's the average percent of visitors that are sold anyway. There are ways to get the conversion above that, but on average, it's about 1%, even less as it gets more competitive online. So 1% is 1 out of 100 that are going to become customers, but then only 1 out of 20 of those people are going to be hyper responsive. So on a percent of visitors basis, you're talking about 1 out of 2,000 visitors. And why is that important? That's important because really you need to be thinking of the hyper responsive visitor from the very start, when you design your ads, when you pick your keywords, when you figure out what copy people might respond to. You need to be thinking of the hyper responsive visitor from the very, very get-go. And it turns out that hyper responsive visitors, hyper responsive customers, know more about the market as a whole than the rest of the market. So people are sometimes worried.
Explain why that is. That's very interesting.
Well, like when you go into the store and you find the exact brand of rice cake that you want, you're looking for whole grain rice cakes which are sliced ultra thin and are organic, right?
Right.
You could not have come to that determination about what type of rice cake you will be hyper responsive for without investigating
all the rice cakes.
Right.
And all the rice.
And all the rice. And all the rice. So the implication is that the hyper responsive customer knows the market best.
Interesting.
That's the implication. So from there, if you do arrange your marketing to appeal to the hyper responsive customer, you're actually going to wind up getting more. You should wind up getting more of the rest of the customers as well. So you don't have to be worried that by doing hyper-responsive marketing, you're going to be limiting your appeal. You're actually going to be appealing to more people overall. Okay?
Okay.
Makes sense so far? Okay. The second thing that I want to say is that hyper-responsive customers buy real points of difference.
I mean, and that fits with what we're just talking about perfectly.
Mm-hmm. And for anybody that doesn't totally understand, when Sharon goes into the store and she buys organic brown rice
In a bowl.
in a bowl or very...
That's for 90 seconds in the microwave.
Okay, I thought we were talking about the thinly sliced rice cakes, but...
Well, that's another one, but you're right.
Mm-hmm. But when you do that, that's something there's really only one brand that stands out as offering those benefits.
Right.
And you were...
And even within that brand, it's one SKU